Hey, everybody, and welcome back to SmartTake, your #1 series for learning the latest HubSpot product updates. Today, again, joining me is Brian Weddick from HubSpot, and we're excited to take you through some of the powerful new features that rolled out this last month. Thanks again for joining, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited about it. March was a big one, and April's going to be even bigger. I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but there's some stuff dropped yesterday, that Spotlight updates, which we'll cover next month. But we got some great stuff for you here today. I'm excited to dive in with you, Paul, as always. So take it away.
All right, so we're going to break this down a little bit differently this month. We usually kind of break it out by different hubs. Today, we're going to break it down by if you're a HubSpot admin, we'll have a section for you there. If you're a HubSpot seller, we'll have a section for you on that. And then we have section a little bit, we'll dive into some of the new AI capabilities, which really apply to everybody that's using HubSpot. So without further ado, let's jump into the updates for this month. What's new for admins and ops? So first update for the month is agent controls for CRM tools. Admins now have the ability to have new updated controls for read and write when they're adding in new tools into their agents with the inside of HubSpot. So for those of you that are exploring Breeze Studio, which HubSpot announced at last Inbound, you will see that this is essentially advancement of this RAG system, which allows you to essentially add in various tools and decide what level of control that you want to give to the tool. I think this is so important. And as businesses start to create their own custom applications and custom agents, they really need to be able to give those agent building systems the specifics on, do they want to be able to just give read access to a certain system? Or do they want it to actually give the ultimate powerful tool, which is being able to write data to a certain system? So this is really for those admins that are going to be controlling agents and assistants inside of HubSpot. Powerful new update within Breeze Studio for this month.
I think it's huge. And it also, this kind of sparked the idea or kind of question, Paul, that I hear from a lot of folks is, can I trust AI always? So one is, can I trust it to write something to my CRM, and what tools should it be allowed to write to, or what tools should it be allowed to be used in? But also, even zooming out a little bit, can I trust AI to have access to my data even? And just as a quick plug from the HubSpot side, we have the HubSpot AI model cards, which is trust.hubspot.com/AI. And it is an explanation of how your data is processed and which AI models we use in order to process certain data for the functionality of the tools provided by HubSpot. And a quick plug there, HubSpot has a zero data retention policy with OpenAI and other providers. We have enterprise partnerships. And I think that from that standpoint is super important for us being HubSpot, to be able to highlight for all of our customers that ultimately you can trust where your data is living. So as a quick look, it's this page, and you can see Breeze agents, Breeze assistants, any AI features. And again, your data only is touched by those external models just for the functioning of the tool. And if we look into content generation for a second, we can see, all right, what gets processed, what AI models process it, and how does it kind of show up in the tool. So just a quick little plug, if you or your chief intelligence person or security or legal has any concerns, HubSpot's got you covered.
That's a lot about agent controls for CRM tools. Next, we're going to dive into the next slide, which is around multi-object syncs to CRM from Data Studio. Brian, take us through what this actually is. How does this help customers with bringing in multiple sources of data to HubSpot?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to dive in on this one. Just as a quick review for folks who don't have or haven't really leveraged Data Studio yet, this is a super powerful way to combine external data sources that you have. Think your QuickBooks or maybe Google Sheets or any other tool that is a third-party tech that you use, to be able to combine that data in a data set, essentially in a separate environment, be able to manipulate and match up those external fields with your HubSpot fields, and then to use that in reporting, or even to import that into your CRM to be able to pull over the right pieces of data from an external source, match it up, and drop it into your HubSpot. Now, one of the challenges before, and what this solves for, is the ability to make associations across multiple objects when doing that import. Um, and being able to do this multi object sync, let's say contacts and companies, or to be able to go a step further. And one of the use cases I've heard from our product team is around line items. Line items is a funky kind of object that is tied to another object. There would be no way to import that through data sync prior. And now we can import that and be able to match those up. And those are association dependent objects. So, quick highlight for those ops folks who have leveraged Data Studio or are curious if it will work for their use case. This is a big enhancement for the ability to make sure that your HubSpot data represents everything that your business needs in order to operate, function, and run your go-to-market teams.
I love this. And as organizations are trying to incorporate AI into various workflows and processes with their teams, they really need a complete picture of all of their data. They need a complete picture of all the company contact deal information. But then there's so much other information that you'll have about your prospects and your customers that you really need that inside of HubSpot. And oftentimes that lives in those third-party data sets. So really powerful features from Data Studio, Data Hub coming out this month. All right, let's jump into updates for sellers. So next, we're going to do a quick slew of updates that relate to workflow automation and quoting, specifically around a bunch of HubSpot's new CPQ functionality that they're rolling out. A lot of powerful tools, a lot of client requests that are looking for these types of features. So excited to be able to roll some of these out. So first off, using workflows to create a quote. You can use the workflow action to go ahead and generate that quote draft, get that spun up. You think about, you get a deal, get to a certain stage. You want to be able to automatically have a quote spun up with some of that information inside of there. Just takes a little bit of some of those manual processes out of there. So that's just one way, you're thinking about a deal stage, but there's numbers of other use cases within that. Creating workflows based on quote activity. I like this one right here. Oftentimes sellers, if they want to check on the status of their quote, they're constantly coming back in to check that quote. They're going in there and seeing, are people viewing the quote? Or do we have the signatures? Do we have everything we need on this quote for the prospect to sign the quote? And historically, it's a little bit more manual. So now there's more actions that you can take to be able to automate some of that. You can do that via workflow. So, hey, when a prospect views it or signs it, you can then go have custom automation for maybe you want to send out notifications to certain teams when something gets signed, or when a certain prospect views it. Maybe you want to be able to have notifications for that. So again, just opens up a wealth of other automation within quoting.
Paul, as a former HubSpot salesperson, that notification when someone views a quote or when it actually gets signed is huge. And we had that internally. But for folks who have used HubSpot and used HubSpot quotes in the past, just sitting there hitting manual refresh, it's got to be super annoying for a sales rep. So if you're a seller, you get it. And if you support sellers, this is something that's a gift. So set this stuff up for them right away.
Yeah, you got to get the sellers those dopamine hits when they're getting views on their quotes. So I think to feed that to them, I think they'll really appreciate that. The next one is the same topic: adding line items to deals via workflow actions. I like this one right here. As you think about some of the deals, you may have various product lines and with different pricing levels, and there may be certain types of customers that you're working with, and that if you're working with a specific kind of customer at a certain price point or a certain product line, and maybe you need to have a required line item that's included inside of there. For example, clients that we work with, they may have a certain technology fee that's associated with integrations, for example. And so if we're doing integration work with a client, we need to make sure that type of line item is automatically added onto the quote. So there's a number of other, you can think about, it's very business specific, but in the past, this would be a little bit manual, or you may have some rules that you need to make sure that you're following, double checking, so that you are including all of these other line items. And if you were to forget them, then your finance team might be screaming at you to try to add that. So this just really helps eliminates again some of that friction, speed things up, so you don't forget to add certain line items onto your quotes.
Yeah, like onboarding. Everyone who's purchased HubSpot knows that you need to have onboarding either from HubSpot or through a partner. And that addition is a requirement from a rep perspective. So it helps to speed up approvals too, for the approvers to know that certain things are going to be automatically added. I think about that as compliance and speed.
And lastly, within this little bundle is create one-time invoices from quotes or deals with workflows. So this new convert to invoice actions, automatically creating that draft for an invoice or a quote. So just it really speeds up the process. You want to be able to quickly spin out a one-time invoice so you can pass that on. Folks can check that out while you're creating that quote. So again, it's just a quality of life update that really makes it so that you can go build these out, get them out to your prospects committee. If there's multiple folks that need to see that. So really like this automation or this new update.
I'll give a quick little plug. A lot of this, what we're discussing here is Commerce Hub. And for those who have been really following Commerce Hub closely and kind of the evolution of how our quoting engine and CPQ tools are developing, there's been a lot of traction there. So we've referenced a couple in past Smart Takes. I think we're about to do a few more as stuff continues to roll out. If I just highlight for a quick second, friend and colleague on the Commerce Hub team, running product, Ethan Kopit, he actually put out a LinkedIn post just this week or last week, I guess, around product that he's been working on in Commerce Hub called Price Books.
Mm.
Those who are familiar, who have had challenges or have had desires for Price Books, Ethan's your guy. He walked through a lot around how does this function and how should it function, kind of crowdsourcing some feedback. And then also highlighted a quick little bit that there's an auto discount on Commerce Hub for folks who already have Sales Hub. So just as a quick plug for folks who haven't leveraged these tools but might like to, your sales rep might not love it because there's not as much to sell you, but you have the ability to jump in at some blanket discounting. So just showing, like HubSpot really wants to add a lot of value into this Commerce Hub space for users, and follow it closely because I think there's a ton more to make it super user friendly.
You heard it here first. Price books coming out soon. So I know
That happens
that's a
soon, but
request.
they want feedback. So
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, and I would, Ethan Kopit's a great person to follow if you're trying to stay up to date on updates for Commerce Hub. So some great updates there. There's so much innovation happening within that hub. All right, what's new for support and success, Brian? What's screen capture button in chat widget? Take us through some of these updates.
yeah, I think it's awesome. There's two things back to back here that are pretty similar, but slightly different. So in the chat widget, human powered, or you'll see in a second, customer agent powered. Ultimately, when we're on chat, specifically if we're working on something on our computers and we're trying to represent the issue that we're facing, oftentimes, hey, like you just give me a quick screenshot of what error message you're seeing. You would have had to drag in that screenshot. You have to go in your files, add it. There's a screen capture button that's added to make it so much smoother for the end user and for the support agent person to be able to help troubleshoot. I think this is just like a kind of no-brainer and like very user-friendly, kind of HubSpot-y little feature update. And then, Paul, if you click to the next one, you'll also know that not only does the person who's on the other end of that chat have the ability to see a screenshot very smoothly and easily, but if that chat pane is actually the customer agent, customer agents can now see image attachments and they can understand and act on those image attachments. I think this is a huge update, all right? AI is really meeting the moment and customer agent is really helping to defer a lot of that kind of stuff that would take a long time for a human agent to manage through. We can trust the AI agent to dive in, even in examples where a screenshot, for example, is necessary. So I thought these were really cool and I want to make sure to highlight those two. So thanks for indulging me. And I hope this ends up proving useful because I do think that for folks who use chat or customer agent, probably run into this more than once.
Yeah, super practical use cases. This one, screen capture button in the chat widget. I think like for so often support reps are trying to say, well, what are you seeing? Like what, can you just like show me what the error message is and how did that all appear and everything like that? So this really alleviate some of the issues that folks are seeing there. I mean, there's also sales implications of this too. I mean, if you're using this for sales, and you can also you wanted to take a screenshot of something that's on your screen that you're looking to share with a salesperson. I think there's also implications for it. So and then some of the AI tooling behind this. Yeah, I think like there's so often support reps get mired in a lot of repeatable types of tickets and use cases and things like that. And I think that once your AI is trained on seeing that same kind of error screenshot, then AI can just pretty quickly diagnose what the issue is without the support rep having to really dig through help articles or having to go find another answer. So hopefully, yeah, this does save a little bit more time and make customer agents a bit more powerful. All right, now we go to the last section right here. We're looking at Google Drive integration for knowledge vaults for custom agents. So for this specifically, what this update for this month is with when you're going in and you're building custom agents inside of a HubSpot. Essentially, there's very historically had the ability to import CSV documentation or text files or have build out a custom knowledge vault that's based on certain objects inside of HubSpot. And what this does, powerful new update, is once you integrate Google Drive with HubSpot, you can then access certain folders that are inside your Google Drive. And so I really like this update. I think it's for if you're trying to go ahead and create very use case specific agents or agents that are specific to certain roles, they may need access to a certain customer folder, or they may need access if it's a marketing agent, like they need access to maybe certain marketing assets. If it's a sales type of agent, like there's a folder of sales enablement collateral or case studies or things like that that only live in your Google Drive. And so I think this is really powerful. The last thing I will say on this is that like you pick a folder of what information that you want, and then it's able to access that and crawl that and pull that in real time. And as we know, Google Drive like stays up to date with the latest information from your organization, and so you really need that to be able to call and crawl back into Google Drive when it needs to access the latest and greatest. So I think it's a pretty powerful update, and just pulling in Google Drive in there versus you having to go out and fish into that system to try to find the resources to then pull back into HubSpot.
I think it's super smart. Just to quickly echo that, Paul, I think the timeliness of it is important, right? Like you could have static files that you upload that you did 6 months ago. How do you keep your brand voice up to date? How do you keep, all of your collateral up to date? Well, that may live in Google Drive for your organization, and documents change and are dynamic. So I think that's super, and a good way to make sure that your organization is synced across all of the technology that you use.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll give one more example, and where I think this is going to be so relevant is, I was helping a team earlier this week at SmartBug understand the full picture of working with a specific client who's been with us for over a year. And to really understand the full picture of the customer, we needed to look at records inside of HubSpot. We need to look at transcription, call recording type of data, which some of it was in HubSpot, some of it lived within Google Drive. We needed to pull information from other sources, and you can see how like the exercise of doing AI analysis, doing analysis with AI, the hardest part is really doing that data wrangling piece. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of these integration types of features roll out into AI tools, just because it's so burdensome. It takes a lot of time to be able to go fish all that information out, and you have to talk to 10 people to find it. So yeah, big fan of this type of update. Okay, we're almost to the end here. Agents in CRM cards. This is a really cool one right here, and I wanted to share with you today. So really, what with some of the agents that HubSpot is launching, some of the custom agents coming out of Breeze Studio, you have the ability to go in and add a card into whatever record that you want. So if you're building custom agents to solve for a very specific use case, instead of that agent living in a separate window, go and add that agent into the records where you're doing the work. That's how you make AI feel seamless. And that's how you get people to adopt AI, is where you put it where they're working, not in some other separate area. And so I just want to share a quick way that I'll show you how SmartBug is using this type of feature today. So we specifically have a quoting agent that we use to then go look at the individual quote itself to understand, hey, does the quote, does it check the 25 boxes that allow for us to be able to then send this quote to the end prospect and customer. And so what we did is we built the agent around that, and we have that essentially right within the deal record. And so before I go in and I send this quote to the prospect, I have to run the quote through this agent. Agent goes through it, says it's approved or not approved, and then it's able to log all that information right on the deal record. And that is then that like is it. Once I have that approved quote, then I can go send that to the customer. This type of job is so common, probably with almost like every company in their accounting and finance departments, where someone has to have that final look at the quote before it goes out to the customer. And it could take 5 minutes, it could take 15 minutes, it could take an hour. It could take longer if there's a queue of quotes that finance and accounting has to get through. And so these are the types of like quotes that we need to be thinking about is like, what are some of those processes that you have internally that are just burdensome that maybe take, you know, just a few minutes, but there's a lot of you get interrupted throughout the month having to do these, but they're business critical things that you have to get done. And so that's a specific way that we've incorporated an agent right into the deal record. Super powerful. And there's so many other great use cases for this, but start to look at your organization and think about if you had an agent that you could put into any object that you wanted to, what would that look like? And what would be the tool that you would be able to do that? So really exciting update, adding agents into CRM cards.
I think the user factor of that is huge. One, your agent's great. I think it makes a ton of sense, right? Just in terms of the use case of that agent, but the location of it makes even more sense. I think that adoption and usability makes the day in the life of the user, the rep in this case, much smoother. And it keeps folks inside of HubSpot or on one tab. I think you were saying, hey, think about an agent. Well, what are the tasks that need to open multiple tabs in order to get something done that where AI could support? That can be now added into any object. And I'm really excited about the location of that. Just clicking around HubSpot, if something's not top and front and center, like, yeah, it can get lost in the noise if you don't know what you're looking for. So if you're trying to train new members, you're trying to drive adoption of a new business process or adoption of AI features that you maybe built yourself or even that are built into the HubSpot interface already, it's a great place to start.
Great update right there. Okay, let me see. Is that our last one for this month? No, we have one more. Go ahead, take it away,
Oh,
Brian.
I've used contact views and company views all the time. And we're talking about views inside of the object index page that you may need to share with, let's say, a member of another department, but they don't have the same visibilities that you have and or permissions, let's say. And so you can actually adjust the permissions for a particular view, just so that you can make sure that you share those accounts over. I have a perfect example here. SmartBug was actually working with HubSpot on an event recently in Boston for a group of healthcare customers and prospects. And we had an invitee list that was held by marketing and run by marketing. But I, as an individual contributor not on the marketing team, didn't have access to that. And so we were able to toggle on the permissions. So the marketing person was able to share that list with me without giving me visibility into all of the marketing campaigns and efforts that they're running. And it's a pretty simple use case. And I think something that's probably pretty repeatable with businesses that may need to share things across departments or amongst teams, but people are not on the same team. And therefore, you can't offer the same types of permissions. So kind of a simple change, but pretty useful. And that's what we're here for with Smart Takes is put Paul and my minds together and think about what are the things that have come out that can actually apply to your day to day and make life of using HubSpot even better, and make you look like a rock star for all of your friends and family and folks back home. So I hope you get use out of these sessions, and we appreciate bringing them to you every month here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's about 50 to 100 updates that come out each month. Brian and I curate this each month and go through the most impactful ones for your business. So thanks everybody for joining today. As Brian mentioned earlier, this next month is going to be a special spring spotlight edition. We're going to take you through some of the big updates that you may have heard yesterday related to prospecting, customer agent, and some of the new AEO functionality. So really excited to take you through all of that this next month. Look forward to seeing you for the next spotlight, May 13th. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll keep going through some of the updates that occurred, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. And that's it. Please give us some feedback, and we look forward to seeing you all next month. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you for watching.